Thank you very much for joining us. This is GH Today here on GHOne Television. My next guest in the studio is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Boko Central Constituency. He is also a private legal practitioner. The Honourable Mahama Ayariga is in the studio, and we are very happy to have him here in the studio this morning. After a long while, always happy to have you. Honourable, good morning.
Good morning. I have been on sabbatical.
Yes, you've been MIA. You've been MIA. Finally, we have you here in the studio, and we're excited about it. What have you been up to?
Well, just running around, a few private things here and there, and trying to keep body and soul, maintain constituency, and then just, be okay.
Well, we all need to be okay, don't we?
Yeah.
But it's good that you've joined us in the studio.
I'm happy to be back here.
Yes, yes. And just yesterday, there was a case in court regarding the purchase of some ambulances in which your leader, the minority leader, is one of the accused persons in that case. There's also a businessman, Richard GHOne, in there. It was emerging in court yesterday that during Richard GHOne's cross-examination, that he said the Attorney General was trying to get him to testify against your leader, the majority leader, Kesila Atoforsen, in order to, incriminate him and make sure that he is convicted. I've heard, the NDC, the communications officer, speak about this, but the Attorney General's department has also issued a statement saying that there's no truth to it. There have been plea bargaining conversations, but there is no deliberate attempt to deliberately persecute the Honourable Atoforsen. You are a legal practitioner. Can you help us understand how some of these things work?
Well, I heard the story yesterday in the afternoon,
Yes.
and then in the evening, it was carried by almost all the news networks.
Yes.
And it's been extensively discussed.
Yes.
Well, all sort of things go into prosecutions, and Ato is a personal friend and a leader. I know Mr. GHOne also from many years ago when I was working in the office of the president at the castle. So I know both of them. We've all been following closely the whole prosecution in relation to the purchase of the ambulances.
Yes.
What came out yesterday was quite shocking because from what I hear, he threatened to disclose facts relating to allegations that the Attorney General somehow has been trying to coerce him, get him, cajole him, convince him to implicate Honourable Atoforsen in a way that would make it easy for them to convict Honourable Atoforsen and imprison him. And I hear his threats caused the judge to break proceedings and then take a short adjournment and go into her office and invite both counsel to come in, and then they had some discussions. We haven't heard from the lawyers directly what they discussed in camera when the judge invited them into her chamber. So it's difficult, but this is what he said in open court. We know that, and of course we've also read what the Attorney General has put out there.
Yeah, they put out a statement.
Yeah. So we are at the stage where we've all become interested. And because we have all become interested, we want to know exactly what the facts are, because GHOne says that he has evidence and he will put it out there, if the Attorney General doesn't take his time or something of that sort. So we are interested, if indeed it is the case that the Attorney General has been trying very hard to get him to give evidence that will implicate Atoforsen, then that can be a serious matter. Serious in the sense that Attorney General, as leader of the bar, is expected to maintain a certain level of ethics in his practice as the leader of the bar. And so for him to be said to have tried to cajole a witness to try and implicate another person, no mean a person than a political opponent of the stature of Atuforsen, can be a very serious matter.
Well, something that the AG has denied.
Well, yes. So the AG's denial, we have to take that on board. I expect naturally a denial. But then we all have to hold Japka to the standard of proving that indeed this did happen. And especially the fact that he said it in open court.
Yes.
He said it in open court.
While he was being cross-examined.
While he was being cross-examined.
Yes.
So I know the judge very well by way of having also appeared before her as an accused person. And I know that she's a very firm judge. I must say that I had a similar experience in her court. Yeah, I had a similar. People don't know how.
Justice Ifiasewa.
Yeah, Ifiasewa. People don't know how the Office of Special Prosecutor's prosecution of my case was lost by the office. It was a similar circumstance in which, evidence that proved my innocence was being kept away. And then in the process, we discovered that when we raised it in court, she demanded that the evidence must be brought in court. And when the evidence was brought in court, the various witnesses, everybody said, look, Honorable Ayariga is not guilty of anything. He's not part of all this. So I know Justice Ifiasewa, and I believe that she won't let a matter like this, lie. She would dig and get to the bottom of it so that we would know exactly what the situation is. But, it's obvious that the NPP government has been desperate, trying very hard to get convictions here and there by way of, I would say, witch hunting opponents, even though we all see on a daily basis, major, serious corruption scandals that stare all of us in the face, that we expect the same government to be even-handed in dealing with them, and yet nothing happens.
Is that what this is, a witch hunt?
Oh, it's
this
obvious.
Case involving the minority leader. Is it a witch hunt?
Well, I mean, that is what the witness is saying. The witness is saying, look, they've been trying very hard to get me to implicate the first accused, and I just have refused.
Do you know if the first accused has been trying to get the Attorney General to drop this case? Because that has also been suggested.
Well, I mean, of course, an accused person may do whatever he can to have his case dropped. It's up to the Attorney General to do whatever he can to secure his convictions and enforce the law and etc. So whatever it is that the accused person has been trying to do in relation to the Attorney General, the Attorney General knows what in law to do when an accused person tries to get you to drop a case. Has he been trying to get him to do it improperly, or has he been trying to get him to do it properly? If he's been trying to get him to do it improperly, it suggests the commission of some offenses. And if he has not taken action up to this stage, then it also gives an indication of his character as an Attorney General. So I wouldn't say much about that because I don't know. But what was said in open court is what has made the headlines and the story, which is Jacquet's claim that the Attorney General has tried to get him to implicate the first accused persons. So, like I said from the beginning, if it is indeed what has happened, it's a very, very serious matter. I believe that there are people who have lined up and will be willing to run to the General Legal Council, the disciplinary authority, so that action can be taken against the Attorney General in this matter. I also will urge the judge, because the judge should know that this happened in open court. And because it happened in open court, everybody's interested.
Yes.
Even though she's invited them into the chamber and they've had discussions, what happened in open court has already happened in open court. It's public record. And once the third accused has given that testimony in open court, the public is interested, and we expect her to inquire into that, to compel evidence to be brought to establish that, and then we can move on.
Well, recently the KPMG's audit on SML and GRA, the deal that they entered into, has been made public by the president. There was an earlier RTI request which the presidency had, denied, but it has been made public. And it's appearing that it's emerging that the deal needed parliamentary approval, since it was for multiple years. When you look at it, is this something that actually needed to come to the lawmaking chamber for there to be some sort of ratification, some sort of approval before the deal was entered into?
Well, I mean, this whole thing, SML thing, is such a very serious matter. And I think that it is one test case of how, as a country, we should deal with very clear cases of corruption, graft in public office, abuse of office, concealment of crimes, and etc. For a very long time, there's been a battle to get the president to release the report of, what's the name of the?
KPMG.
KPMG.
Yes, the audit reports of KPMG.
Audit report.
On this deal.
The real question really is, why was the president holding on to the report?
Well, he had earlier issued a white paper after the report was done. I mean, he issued a white paper, came out with some recommendations, highlighted relevant portions or portions that he felt were relevant, highlighted them and released them, that this is the action that is going to be taken.
Now, what action was taken? What action was taken?
He had announced that this action was going to be taken. We don't know if that action has been taken yet.
But see, when you read the report, it is obvious that the report reveals serious criminal offenses. It is obvious. Now, what people have failed to notice is that the report itself of KPMG is a very bad piece of work. Very, very bad piece of work.
The report that the audits that
yes,
KPMG
the audit
conducted,
that they did. The audit
bad
that
work?
they did. Yes, it's a very bad piece of work. You see, a matter that is legal and criminal in character, why would you focus so much on an ordinary audit? What KPMG hasn't answered is whether or not GRA has the legal mandate and right to engage in a revenue sharing arrangement with a private entity in relation to the collection of taxes. That's the major fundamental question that the report does not answer. Does GRA have a right to enter into an arrangement with a private entity so that when revenue is assured and collected, they share that revenue according to a certain ratio? Do they have the right? Which law mandates GRA to do that? Which law? They should show me the law that says that we can enter into a revenue assurance arrangement with a private entity, and then when we collect the revenue up to a certain amount, then the person gets X percentage depending on the volume of revenue that is collected.
Well, that's what's in the contract, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what it is. Now the question is, does GRA have the legal right or authority to do a thing like that? Because even the GRA, is that okay, to share the revenue with the state, they needed a law to say that when GRA collects revenue, it can keep up to 3% of that revenue. GRA, which is a state entity established by law, even for them to keep a percentage of the revenue, they've had to get the legislation to specifically say that if GRA collects revenue, they can keep up to 3% of it. They should show me a provision in any of the legislations that says that GRA can enter into a revenue assurance arrangement with a private entity and share the revenue with them according to any percentage that they may negotiate. That for me is the fundamental issue.
And that's not something that you didn't
It's not a
see
simple
in the report.
procurement matter. it's not a simple service procurement matter. Because they were not paying them from their own revenue. If they were paying them from the 3% that they are entitled to keep as a share of state revenue collected, then it would have been a simple service procurement. So they are procuring the services of somebody to help them, and then they are paying the person out of their own budget. But that's not what they are doing. What they are doing is having a revenue assurance arrangement with the person, so the person is paid a percentage of whatever increments that has been attained in the collection of the revenue. Fundamentally wrong legally. And I'm challenging any lawyer. Any lawyer, I'm challenging them to come and show me which provisions of either the Constitution or the GRA legislation or anything that gives them the authority to do a thing like that. So every money that SML has collected must be returned to the state, because it's an illegal thing that they have done, and they must return it. And so this is not a simple issue of, oh, I'm setting up a committee, and the committee, I'm referring the matter to KPMG. KPMG will do a report. This is a criminal matter. This is a matter for the Economic and Organized Crime Unit to look into, because it is a scheme by which the state has lost money through criminal conduct, perpetuated in an organized way by public officers. Clear crime under the Economic and Organized Crime Act, under the Criminal Code.
So what's
a
the
clear
crime?
Violation of GRA Act.
What's the crime?
A clear violation of every legislation. But this is
Is it fraud? What's the crime?
It's theft, it's fraud, it is abuse of office for personal gain, if we can establish that any of the public officers involved in the negotiations are benefited from it. It's a multiplicity of crimes under the Criminal Code, under the GHOne Act. It's an offense under the GRA Act itself.
Is this something you are going to take up?
Well,
Because we had a hint from Samuel Atachia that Parliament will likely go into this matter and do their own investigations. Is it a matter that you are willing to take up, this issue of criminality in this deal that you...
Oh, yeah, I'm willing. You know me, I'm willing to take it up. Unfortunately, to be frank with you, I've lost confidence in almost all the anti-corruption agencies, because I have gone to almost all of them with cases, and as I said, none of them really, has received any traction. If you recall, the Bank of Ghana building,
yes,
and all the price adjustments that took place without any proper explanation. You know that I took it to Office of Special Prosecutor. Even a few months ago, I still reminded Office of Special Prosecutor that I have this matter in your office under investigation. As we sit, I haven't heard anything. I know if I get up and take this matter and run to GHOne, whether anybody will pay attention to me. Because we live in a country under a government that has immobilized any institution that is involved in fighting corruption. So you take up the cases, you go there. After a while, they come up with some very interesting decisions that just negates all the initiatives that citizens have taken to fight corruption.
But
because the person who is principally responsible for fighting corruption himself has decided that he's not interested in fighting corruption.
But in spite of this, will you take this matter up?
I will consider it. I will consider it, because for me, people are having discussions about it as if it's a simple audit issue and etc. I've read the executive summary of KPMG. I find that, just unacceptable, because this is not a simple issue of auditing. This is a serious legal work that needs to be done. What about the
recommendations? What do you make of the recommendations?
It's because they've gotten the whole thing wrong. They've gotten the whole thing wrong.
Possible judgment debts because of the contractual arrangement.
Because they've gotten the whole thing wrong, they've come out with recommendations that are equally erroneous. Because in the first place, does GRA have the authority to do what it did? Which law gives them the mandate to enter into revenue sharing arrangements based on a revenue assurance contract? Which law?
Should they have come for parliamentary approval?
Well, yes, because once it involves you ceding tax revenues to an entity, that's a matter that I believe Parliament will have authority to do. But they didn't come to Parliament. Whether it is a structured approval under Article 181 is a matter that I need to look into even closer. But I just feel that primarily there must be a legislation that gives GRA the power to do what it has done, to enter into revenue assurance arrangements. And I haven't seen any yet. I may be wrong. I mean, I'm not the most brilliant lawyer in town. I believe that other colleagues will look into it. And if I'm wrong, they will show me. Maybe I've missed out something somewhere. But I've been looking very close, and I just haven't seen it. And I've looked at the KPMG report, and even they haven't drawn any attention to any law that allows them to do that. They have treated it as a simple procurement matter, and even they have admitted that really there was no procurement in the initial stages. And then there was a ratification of service that was being rendered. And I'm even asking, the service itself, is it by law permissible? And I'm saying that it's not even by law permissible.
Right.
So you can't even ratify what was by law impermissible. So fundamentally, it is wrong. And so the recommendations of KPMG are, in my opinion, unfounded because they've got the analysis wrong. It's not a simple procurement issue. And clearly, like I said, for me, this is a very strong candidate for referral to Economic and Organized Crime Unit for them to look into.
Which is
and not to say that they should ratify it, they should do this, they should do that. Revenue assurance is a problem. Yes, it's a problem. It's a problem simply because the individuals responsible for it are refusing to do their work, not because they don't have the capacity. The company that was engaged to do the work, what capacity do they have far better than all the staff at GRA? All the numerous personnel that we pay every month to collect revenue. It's simply because they are refusing to do their work. It's simply because many of them have engaged in methods that assist people to evade the payment of taxes. And because the law enforcement agencies have not been able to sit up and then catch up with the conduct of such people. So it has become fashionable to do it and get away with it. Then we now redefined it as a different problem, which is that there's revenue leakage and there's etc. It's not revenue leakage. It's just the people who are responsible refusing to do their work. That's all.
So this is something that you probably take up with Yoko, but you mentioned that you don't have confidence.
Absolutely.
You've lost confidence in the corruption fighting agencies. But you have some cases before them, right? And
that's based on my experience.
That you don't have confidence.
That I don't have the confidence because you take up those cases and then nothing happens.
You have one before the Office of the Special Prosecutor,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And recently there has been a petition which was sent to the President to have the Special Prosecutor removed. It came from Martin Amidu. And he cites various reasons, disrespect to the judiciary, and a host of other things, reasons, procurement breaches in the procurement of some vehicles for the Office of the Special Prosecutor, among other things, which he believes is grounds for the removal of Kissie Jabing as Special Prosecutor. President has referred it to Chief Justice. Chief Justice has asked Kissie Jabing to respond. Is it in the right direction? Is it in good taste, this petition?
Well, I mean, to be frank with you, anybody who takes a step to fight what that person perceives to be corruption, we must commend the person. Whether or not it is right should be determined by the final outcome of the process. If the process is fair and gives all parties the opportunity to have their case heard. So I'm not in a position to say, oh, Madamidu was wrong or right. Question really is he going through the process? Is the process, due? That's what we mean by due process. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Is everybody getting his due in the process? So if everybody's getting his due in the process, he's brought a petition. President has referred it to the CJ. CJ has asked the special prosecutor to respond. Mm-hmm. Let's wait and hear the response of the special prosecutor.
But can he be removed through this process, which has been triggered by Martin Amidu? Because there are some people who are arguing that the office is not a creation of the Constitution, so it cannot be treated as such, when it comes to removal of, a head of an institution like that.
Well, the office is equated to that of, I think, a High Court judge, or a Court of Appeal judge. And so once you do that, then I believe that it is in that respect that he's going through that whole process, analogous to the process for the removal of a person of that stature. So let's wait. One of the issues that, of course, we would expect Kisei Jebeng to raise will be the process itself. If he thinks that the process is wrong, then it should be articulated by him that, look, the process is wrong. And if he says the process is wrong and therefore I will not respond, then it triggers another legal process for a determination by the courts whether or not the process for his removal are consistent with the law establishing the office. But I would rather focus on the substance of the matter.
Yes.
Is it true that the claims that he's making, as for the issue of disrespect to the judiciary and etc., I don't know if that's a matter that should form the basis for removing somebody. I think that the real issues, in my opinion, will be the procurement matters.
Yes.
The real issues will be the recruitment matters and whether those recruitments are in accordance with the law establishing the office. The real issues, in my opinion, will be the management of the funds of the organization. And, the fact that you are a special prosecutor does not immunize you yourself, to being prosecuted for acts that clearly are also alleged to be corrupt. And so I don't want to discount, dismiss, or condemn the conduct of Mr. Martin Hamidu. But I will say that Kisei should be given the opportunity, as he is being given, to respond. And as a public office established to fight corruption, we are all very interested in who the office holder is and his conduct whilst he is in office. So I don't think that we should dismiss that. But I also, like I said, don't have confidence because, like I said, I've brought very serious matter, what I consider very serious matter, a matter over which tens of thousands of Ghanaians have marched in the streets. You saw it here, complain about the conduct. And then people say, but you know where to go. And we say, yes, we know where to go, which is the special prosecutor. And we've gone to the special prosecutor. And it's close to a year now. Nobody's saying anything. No response.
You've had no response whatsoever from the office of the special prosecutor on that matter?
The only thing I heard from them was to invite me or to come to my office to take some more statements from me, whatever additional evidence and information I had, I've given them. They've not said anything since then. They've not said anything. And anti-corruption agencies must build public confidence
and just
by
to refresh
robustness
the memory
of their responses.
And just to refresh the memory of
them.
viewers, for them to understand exactly the case that you are talking about, that you took to the office of the special prosecutor.
You recall that, I don't remember the exact figures, but you recall that the Bank of Ghana did procure the construction of a new office, block.
Complex. Yes.
And at the time that they sent in the request to the PPA, Public Procurement Authority, they had quoted a certain figure, which the PPA, declined and then asked them to come down because, in their opinion, they thought it was about $80-something million or so. In the end, they managed to award the same contract for over $110 million, if you recall.
Yes.
Then they later came and said there was a variation of the contract, and by the time we realized it had jumped to over 200 million. Something million dollars. And then they have made payments that suggest that by the time they actually finish this contract, we'll be paying more than $300 million. And so basically, I sent the matter to such a prosecutor because I thought that was the best forum. And they haven't come back to tell them that it's not the best forum and they don't have jurisdiction in the matter.
So they are still investigating.
And I'm wondering why they will be investigating a matter like this for over 1 year, because really, the facts are straightforward. The evidence is documentary. And the actors are in town. They are not out of town. They are just here. They are not more than 400 or 500 meters away from the location of the special prosecutor. And yet, it's taken all these months and years, and nobody's saying anything. Well, I'm not hearing anything. Special prosecutor is not saying anything. Every day we see work going on at the construction site, and the governor of the central bank is going on business as usual, and that is it. That's the situation. So that's why I see the SML report. I see clearly that this is pure criminality. I don't have confidence in this government. I don't believe that they have any intention of fighting corruption, because it's obvious that they must have been part of it. They must have been part of it, to the extent that the president himself, even after getting to know the facts, was doing everything to shield the public from knowing the facts.
Well, but he eventually released it, didn't he?
Do you know the lobbying that went behind the president releasing? Do you know? I heard the general secretary of the NDC say something about the conditions under which those reports were made public. But why would the president be hiding a report like that? Why would he be so reluctant?
Was he hiding it?
But why was he so reluctant?
Because he had already issued a white paper on it.
When as a president, you discover criminality to this extent, you are supposed to move fast. In fact, but for the fact that it is Ghana and the MPP, if it was in some jurisdiction like in the US or UK or other place, by now the Prime Minister would have been resigning for sitting on a report like this.
Do well by
in a place like America, by this time, the president would be facing impeachment proceedings.
But didn't the president do well by commissioning KPMG to do an audit into the GRA and SML contract?
He didn't need an audit. He did. You know the style of this president.
And eventually,
you know the style of this president.
He issued a white paper. Eventually, the report is out.
How many cases of alleged corruption hasn't he rushed to establish some committee or body or that who will do a whitewash and come up with a watered-down version of the truth? And then, he will find a way of going around it. This is a clear case. Like I told you, KPMG missed the question. They asked the wrong questions, gave us the wrong answers, and then built on their wrong answers to give us the wrong recommendation. That's what happened. The key question is, does the GRA, by the law establishing them, or the existing revenue legislation, or even the Public Procurement Act, because, like I said, a revenue assurance arrangement by which you give somebody a share of public revenue is completely different from a service.
Right. So,
and I'm saying that if it was strictly a service, okay, it would have been structured in such a way that they would have been paid from the 3%
directly.
Coffers, yes.
And that's something that you believe is criminality.
Exactly.
So you don't believe the president has done well. You talk that he could have been impeached.
Doing well.
You believe that he can be
this
impeached?
President doing well in a clear case like this that I as a lawyer can see clearly that he's simply trying to whitewash the situation.
But you said that he's not done well enough and he could possibly be impeached.
I'm saying
if
that
it was in another
some jurisdiction, such a conduct by a president to have uncovered this level of criminality and yet do nothing or hide the report and not make it available to the public, and then the public has been agitating, civil society groups have been agitating, parliamentarians, and etc. And I'm saying that when the report came out and we now discovered that there was criminality and you were sitting on it, then that is the moment when you, as the president, should have been held accountable.
What can Parliament do about this? I earlier talked about Honorable Samuel Atachia saying possibly Parliament would look into this GRA-SML deal. What can Parliament do about it?
Well, I want to be very, very honest, to be frank with you, that I have my doubts about what this Parliament can do about anything.
Why?
You know me, I like to be very, very frank and very, very honest. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Frank because I don't see how any of the MPP members of Parliament, who are in the majority now, will sit idly by and allow Parliament to indict either the president or the GRA leadership appointed by the president or the Minister of Finance at that time who had oversight over that sector, also appointed by the president. I have my doubts. I don't have confidence. Today, there is a row going around about the issue of recruitment into the security agencies. If you recall, at the beginning of the life of this Parliament, I was the first to raise that issue during the vetting of Mr. Ambrose Derry as Minister of Interior.
Yes.
Where I alleged that over the years, they've been engaged in unfair recruitment practices, if you recall.
Yes.
I raised it during the vetting of the Minister for Defense.
Defense.
Defense
yes.
as well. And even during the Minister for National Security. I raised all these issues. In fact, they were my key concerns during the vetting. I was on the appointments committee. And I was told to wait. When they are approved, I should bring a motion in Parliament and let's investigate the matter. When they were approved, I actually brought a motion to Parliament for an investigation of the unfair recruitment practices, where they would run adverts, or sometimes not even run adverts, and yet we will hear that recruitments have taken place. Where even the Interior Minister admitted that he ran a first advertisement and compiled a list. And then subsequent years, he kept using the names of those who were on that list and not running fresh advertisements. He admitted that at the Appointments Committee vetting. He admitted that. And then we were able to point to him a particular recruit who had just finished SS and could not have been part of the previous, recruitment exercise because the person was not qualified at that time. So we asked, how is it that this person has gotten in when at the time of the first original recruitment, that person was not qualified to even apply? So clearly, there's something fishy going on. You are not basing your recruitment on the initial list that you say you refer to the Council of State, and the Council of State advised that you must continue using those names until you exhaust that list.
But they are saying it's the same backlog that has been there that is being cleared. I mean, recently it's been said that it's the same, there's been a backlog and the backlog is being cleared.
I'm saying that's that it is a similar story. It is a similar story we were told 4 years ago that we were able to establish clearly was a wrong story. And then I was asked to go ahead and then bring a motion.
And you brought a motion.
I brought a motion. Do you know what the MPP did? The MPP came and said, look, we are going to bring an amendment motion so that the recruitment inquiry is not limited to the MPP regime. We want the recruitment inquiry to start from 1993. I agreed. I said, go ahead. I was in government for 8 years. I'm ready to subject my regime also to an inquiry. So let's go back to 1993. So they brought an amendment motion. Up to date, nothing happened in that house.
But have you inquired why? Why, after they brought the amendment
motion?
That's what I'm
saying that,
you know, I mean,
that's
you're
why
an
I'm
MP.
being very
you're
frank.
An MP.
Look,
why hasn't it gone?
My colleagues know me. I am very, very frank in these matters, and I don't really care what you think. The truth of the matter is that you ask whether Parliament can do something about it. And I'm saying that this Parliament, as presently constituted, in my opinion, hasn't been able to do similar things in which I have been involved. I have my doubts if they'll be able to do anything on this SML thing. And for me,
but if
there are fundamental issues because there are issues that touch on the integrity of our very democracy itself. That even institutions as crucial to the functioning of a healthy democracy, such as our Parliament, is seen failing when it matters most. And so the more that these things happen, the more that public confidence in the democracy is lost. And I have been cautioned several times by elderly people that the way that we are going about the democracy, one early morning, we will all wake up and be told that it doesn't exist. And surprisingly, that day, people will be happy that it doesn't exist any longer. And so we should be careful. As a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, who has gone around the sub-region and have seen military coups in country after country and have tried to understand the underlying causes, it is the very behavior that we are putting up in this country. I was telling somebody the other day that I was personally sitting in Mali the day that the Malian coup, which brought in this military junta, took place. And it was similarly because of the misconduct of the government and the parliament. And the ECOWAS Parliament had sent me and 3 other MPs to go and talk to them, to stop what they were doing, reverse the conduct that they had engaged in. We got there, we met them, the speaker, we said, look, this is what you are doing. It's going to endanger your democracy. Please stop it. He told us that there was no problem at all, that it was just social media, wrong reportage. In the evening, the following morning, we should come and meet him in the office, and then he will convene a meeting and we can discuss with all the political sides. In the morning when we woke up, we heard gunshots. What happened? The military had taken over. What was the reason? The conduct of the speaker. I'm telling you, I was there.
The same issue you went to warn him about.
Yeah, the same issue we went to warn him about, that he was telling us the night before was a non-issue. It was the very reason why the current military junta is in office up to date. ECOWAS haven't been able to get him to dislodge him. So the way that we are going about the democracy, people shouldn't reduce it to an NDC opposition minority talk versus an MPP thing. It is about the very integrity of our democracy. The president engages in a conduct And then when people are going to talk, then one political side just comes to his defense, whether he's right or wrong. A minister does something, one political side will come to his defense, whether it's right or wrong. A government appointee will do something, one side of the divide will come to his defense, whether it's right or wrong. I'm not saying it never happened under the NDC, okay? Now, we leave elections as the only weapon. But a democracy is not maintained purely by elections. In between elections, there are mechanisms that are supposed to maintain the integrity of a democracy. If you don't allow those mechanisms to function and maintain loyalty to the political system, and that is eroded, even the elections will be of no value, because we all see elections that are essentially a vote buying exercise. That's what it has become in most cases. Who has more money? That's all. The candidates line up. We see in the primaries where some are even sharing cars to delegates. Some are sharing motorbikes. Some are sharing fridges and etc. And nobody's saying anything about it. Then it gets to the general election, and then people will not even go to the polling station unless they are given money. That's because they have lost confidence in the system. They don't believe that they are electing people who will come and manage their welfare, because they believe that there are people who are going to come and manage their own personal, appetite for public funds. But so why should they go and line up and vote for you?
So talking about the other methods, apart from just elections, I mean, that's why we have a parliament, we have members
and
of
that's
parliament.
Why I'm saying,
minority
that's
side,
what I'm saying, that
both
the parliament
will have to fight to put the majority
that's what I'm
side
saying,
on
that
their
both
toes,
the
right?
parliament and the other institutions, which is the anti-corruption institutions,
yes,
all of them are failing the people. I'm a member of parliament, and I like to be very frank. We are failing the people.
You talked about a motion that you filed with regard to the recruitment, which hasn't seen the light of day after an amendment was filed.
And the matter has come back to haunt us today.
And another motion is being filed, to go back to 2017 recruitment. Are you saying it's going to suffer the same fate that yours has your motion become an incompetent one? Because it looks like
it's no longer even advertised.
There's already a motion.
It's no longer even advertised.
But why? It's supposed to be, right?
It's no longer being advertised.
So because it will be a similar motion, can your side bring, would you support another motion?
Of course. I will support any day
even though you've already had
an inquiry into the recruitment process. Because I have held a position that the practice where politicians share the slots among themselves, some go to sell, some go to give to family members, and young people who are actually eligible, probably the most eligible, will spend their money, buy the forms, go through all the processes, waste their time going through medicals, stand in the sun in long queues hoping that they will be given a fair chance. Those young people are never given a fair chance. And we are reducing this republic to a situation where if you don't know a politician, if you don't know a member of parliament, you don't know a minister, you don't know a party functionary, essentially you cannot survive in this republic, in this democracy. Why? Why should it be so? Why should the jobs of members of parliament be reduced to go around looking for recruitment for young people? Why should that be? Instead of focusing on more important matters that will generate more wealth to the economy of the country. Why should ministers be taking, recruitment as their share and allocation of public goods and be deciding which nephew and which cousin and which sister's son they should give it to? When so many young people are there, dying, ready to serve their country in those capacities because they really want to just be a police officer. They just like being a soldier and they want to be a soldier. They just like being an immigration, they want to be an immigration officer. That's why those institutions, you see how they function. They themselves, people feel that they got into them as political rewards. Not because it's a place where you go and serve your country with dedication. And so they are at those places, and what are they doing? The customs officers, they don't do the revenue assurance properly. Because some of them actually bought their positions. Some of the people that were given those opportunities and slots went and sold them and took the money as political reward. Ask the young people, they'll tell you. I mean, a young man told me of a harrowing experience of how he was recruited. I was shocked. You hear all sorts of stories.
You have to pay money to be recruited.
You have to pay money to be recruited. I mean, constituents have approached me, so they want assistance to get. I said, look, how am I going to assist you to get recruited? It doesn't lie in my power as a member of to just take you and go and say that.
Your colleague MPs
then the next day, he says, well, my son got it. He's passing out next week. How did he go? Oh, I paid money. Like, you paid money to who? I said, well, it's a secret. I won't tell you. Because I know you. If I tell you, you go and say it. You get in the situation. So there's general decadence of the institutions because, first and foremost, we have politicized every institution. We recruit not on the basis of competence, but on the basis of patronage. And so our institutions are not going to be competent institutions. That's why our economy is declining. We're in a total decline. Because even the top civil servants are not the most competent people to be there. So they are not the most competent advisors to any minister. They will not tell the minister the truth because they know how they got there. And they know where the truth will send them. So ministers will mismanage public affairs. And we will be where we are today. Highly indebted, poor, a struggling country, Ghana. Just 2 years ago, President Ruto was elected into office. Today, he's already at the White House. He's at the White House. Why? We've been there how many years now? Where have we been invited to? Where? People are evaluating us. You saw what happened to the PDS. You saw what Americans had to even withdraw their $190 million to assist the energy sector. See all the problems we're having today with the energy sector. Why has Doomsor come back? Not because we don't have generation capacity. We have enough generation capacity. It's because we're not able to pay for the generation.
Have you lost
Why
hope?
are we not able to pay for the generation? Because we're not able to recover through the distribution system efficiently.
With all of these issues that you raise, you mentioned you've lost hope in the anti-corruption agencies. You don't have any hope in the presidency and his resolve to fight corruption. Have you lost hope in the country?
We're actually in a hopeless situation. No. To tell you the truth, we are in a hopeless situation. We are in a hopeless situation.
Can nothing be done about it?
Excuse me to sound political at this stage. Because we have left Ghanaians with elections as the only tool for potential correction. And I'm using my word advisedly, for potential correction. Is that okay? Because we've left Ghanaians with election as the only tool for potential corruption, it seems to me that the only way out is when we vote the government out and bring in a new government. But then, when we bring in a new government, we must maintain the struggle to ensure that even that new government does the right thing. So, hopelessness, yes, we're in a hopeless situation. There's no doubt about that we're in a hopeless situation.
Ghana is in a hopeless situation.
Ghana is in a hopeless situation. It's obvious. It's obvious that we're in a hopeless situation. I mean, go out there and just ask the young people whether they have hope. And they don't have it. The secretary to the president recently, I don't know how true it is, but recently I read it in the news media, that even he had to caution the Canadians to stop giving too many visas to Ghanaians. Why? Why do you think Ghanaian young people are running to the cold, leaving their fine weather and,
but he's refuted
beautiful environment here and running to Canada?
Has refuted that publication. He says it's not true.
I hope it is not true.
He said it's not true.
I hope it's not. But that doesn't cancel the fact that when you drive around the foreign missions here, the length of the queues that you see, the number of young Ghanaians, skilled, qualified, capable of contributing enormously to the generation of wealth that could be shared, are all running out. You said there is no hope, but you say we've made elections the potential tool for correction. Yeah. Do you have confidence that in these upcoming elections it will be free and fair? You have confidence in the EC to conduct a free and fair elections for that potential correction? Again, there
very briefly, because we've run out of time. We'll have to wrap up in 2 minutes.
There again, you see the Akufo-Addo style. If you recall when he was appointing the members of the commission, people raised objections to some of the members on the basis that some of them were known activists of the NPP. card-bearing members, known activists who people say, look, we can't have a free and fair elections with a character like this presiding over that election. He ignored that. He appointed them, So it is the basis for the speculation and the fear as to whether or not a commission like that can be trusted to be free and fair. The commissioner was my senior at law school. I know her. I believe she'll try her best. What the Supreme Court did the last time, refusing to allow the chairman of the commission to testify in relation to her own results, which were public records, okay, for me set a very dangerous precedent. So again, I think that has corroded the confidence that people have in the Supreme Court as an arbiter, even if, there's an issue in relation to the result. And again, you see...
Do you not trust the Supreme Court to do a good job if it comes to that?
That decision to say that, NDC, you must go and bring your copies of the results, otherwise the matter ends here. When you know that the commission has copies of the results, even if the NDC doesn't have copies of the results, the commission has copies of the results. In the interest of justice, you must let them bring it. There must be transparency. You must rule on the basis of facts.
Right.
So I will say that we'll do our best with the laws that are... I keep telling people that no matter what you say, we have very good laws. It is the human beings implementing the laws that have always been the problem. But we have very good laws.
Right.
So if we insist on the laws and follow the laws strictly, we might be able to make some progress.
Okay, very well. We'll have to end it here, Honorable Ayariga. It's been a pleasure having you here in the studio.
Thank you very much.
I'm grateful that you joined us.
Thank you very much.